Thank you for returning to see part 4 of the Dan Burisch interview. It's apparent you, like many others, want to know the truth about what our government knows about the alien UFO phenomena. I suggest you subscribe to this channel as I cover many of the most documented cases in history. Thank you again for watching The Storyist.
You accepted before you ever accepted going in there. But to a large part, it wasn't bravado on our part saying it's no big thing, but you had to accept that just to work inside the facility. You knew that if there was a contamination, if the alarms started going off, the old joke was get in a straight back chair and lean way over and kiss your goodbye. It was over. Because if the alarms started going off, you were sealed into the facility, and they were going to pump the gas in and fire the fuel air device. Boom. That's what the explosive valves were for, the so-called escape tunnels. For you to get out in case there was an emergency, those were blow-off vents. So they could blow off and explode the facility, blow off out of the papoose range, and keep the remainder of the facility intact.
So, but your experience with the J-Rod and the other ones you've met has basically, were you afraid for your life at any time? In other words,
I was afraid for my life when he stepped toward me. Absolutely, I was. At that moment, but it was a very transient, it was an ephemeral moment.
How did you?
It passed off very quickly because biochemistry helped me calm down when he trained me.
How did you feel, though, in your sort of interactions with him? In other words, do you feel that you said you didn't remember knowing him in the original meeting in the spaceship, right?
Right.
But he remembered clearly.
He remembered.
So did you feel that you actually developed a friendship with this being?
Absolutely did.
And that it grew over time, or did you feel that it was instantly there?
That's a good question. I'll say that I felt a kinship to him all along from the time that he first looked over at me. And that may have been a consequence of me being picked up in the park. That may have been. My trust in what he was saying to me grew over time.
So I remember asking you that.
Yeah,
Specifically asking you that.
my trust grew over time.
But
there was an
level
kinship there with him. And I think that may have started because of the pickup in '73. I think, but I'm trying to surmise it. There was a pickup of the jovial nature of our friendship over time, certainly, because I've got kind of a strange sense of humor, and he was able to be friends with that kind of same weird sense of humor, where he would look over at me and he would tell me that what his behavior was, because I couldn't tell when he was happy or when he was sad because of physical characteristics that easily. You can tell fairly quickly with a human being from now if they're happy, if they're smiling at you. But I couldn't tell if that was pain or what it was on his face until he specifically informed me that that's his smile, that's his laugh. As that grew and my relationship with him grew, I became more attuned to his physical responses as well. And I think that picked our friendship up as well, because I'm more associating with another human being with physical reactions as well, in the communication, and they were less so. So that was difficult. That was very difficult until I became attuned, where I became more relaxed into what his physical responses were. When I knew he was laughing after that, then that got me into trouble with the folks in the facility, because I reacted naturally to his physical responses. And so I would smile or whatever over at him, and they would say, "What is transpiring between you two. I'd hear it come over the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would out and out lie to them and say nothing because I was afraid. I had a fear of losing his friendship too, because I wanted to learn more from him. And so I was willing. And these are the same people that, will point a gun at me with very little compunction against it. I was willing to befriend him too, because he was a captive there, as I was feeling too a captive within Majestic, because I had been brought into a program that I had no clue before what I was being brought into. So I felt kind of trespassed against too.
Mm-hmm. So you had a camaraderie in that sense.
Yeah, we were both prisoners in our own right.
Did you think that he had the ability to protect you?
No. In fact, it was, if anything, it was the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I was covering for him and a lot of his anger, because he had anger in him too, and pain, and anger as a result of pain from the samples being removed. I was covering for him by not telling them of the anger, because that they would have followed an operant conditioning protocol that had been set in against him to penalize him. So I was actually protecting him.
So, but
Who's a human being, for Christ's sake? I mean, if you get stuck with a needle enough times, you get perturbed. And when you're being treated like crap on top of it, a prisoner is a prisoner.
In what way was he treated like crap, I should put it?
If he wouldn't respond as they told him, they would fire a repress valve and change the pressurization in the clean sphere, causing mild to moderate intumescence, a change of pressure in his skin, because he was of lesser density, physical density, as in weight per volume, that density. And the reason why I'm clarifying that is I've heard a lot of new agey comments about fourth density and fifth. I don't know about all of that. As in weight per volume type density, he was less dense physically than we were. His bone structure was less dense than we were. So when they would fire the repress valve, or they would intumesce him, it would cause him great pain. And I was screaming no, and I think, the time that he stepped onto me, I think they thought the better of it at the moment, because he was clearly training me at that moment. So if they would have fired the pressurization at that point, I would have felt the pain that he was feeling.
Right,
Maybe it killed me, I don't know.
You developed from what I understand, you developed, like the movie E.T., you developed the ability to actually feel his pain.
Well, it wasn't even developed. It was immediate.
Oh, it was immediate.
The thing which was developed, and I'm not sure, it may have actually been some sort of a neurological habituation. I'm not certain of that. But the thing which was developed was the inability to disentrain, to break off from him.
Even when you left the clean sphere? In other words, regardless of where you were.
Within a certain range, within, like a 15-meter range from him.
For example, right now, could you feel his pain?
No.
If you wanted you to feel it, could you?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe that they're capable. I mean, we're talking time difference.
Mm-hmm.
His lack of physical existence in our reality. And even if we're talking no time difference, we're talking about a linear distance of how far between here and reticulum. Good God. No.
He's back at reticulum now.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware. My stomach is growling. I must be getting hungry.
Right. Okay.
As far as I'm aware, that's where he returned to. That's the best information I have. And frankly, from the time that, when it happened in 2003, they don't even want to discuss the matter with me because it's a real sore point. I did what I
Oh,
was not
you
supposed
pushed
to do.
him through a time hole.
I pushed him into one of the Stargate units. Yeah. Into the gray patch between the posts. Yeah.
And that was the end, at the end of your relationship with him?
That was the end of it. It's the last time I saw him.
I mean, but
They said it was the end of their relationship with him too, which is why they're so pissed off.
why were you motivated to push him into
He asked me to. He told me he wanted to go home. He wanted to see his son. So I did.
So he was a prisoner, but at some point you were in a position. I'm thinking this was in Egypt. Somehow you guys were taken to Egypt,
Yeah, I was flown there.
and so was he.
Yeah, but over a different transport. He was already present by the time of my arrival. There was a communication protocol going on. He was communicating something I was never really told. All I was told was that there was a problem with his communication, and they wanted me to be there to cause him to relax or whatever to facilitate the discussion. And so they wanted me basically there as an idol of theatry, as an idol of the theater. They wanted me present. They wanted me there as a ruse of kinship with him.
And had you?
And the kinship was no ruse, and that's something that they misinterpreted, I guess, over these years, that I have more of a kinship with a present-day human versus him. And to me, although he was offset, although he appeared different, that he didn't belong, he's still a human being, and a human is a human is a human to me. So I had a true friendship with him. There was a true affection there between the two, because he was showing me things from his childhood and I was showing him things from mine, and we were actually enjoying each other's experience of each other, a friendship. It was a true friendship, and I don't really think that Majestic ever regarded it that way. They feel themselves so damn superior, or that we're superior to them. And maybe it's a reaction. I don't know, maybe I'm rationalizing it, that it's a reaction to the P-45's feeling that we're inferior, the so-called rogues' feeling of us. Maybe it's some sort of a railing against that, or a reaction against that they developed the attitude. I don't know, but I know that I wasn't superior to him and he wasn't superior to me. Much brighter, but we're still just human beings. And just because somebody is brighter than somebody else, it doesn't mean they're superior.
So I'm just trying to figure out why in Egypt he was there. I'm obviously doing some work with them.
He was there as part of a communication program that they had ongoing after our program, well, way after, almost a decade.
Almost 10 years later.
Well, I mean, it had ended in 96. And we had some more briefings in 97, but that was about it.
So you're saying that this happened recently, that you pushed him into the Stargate?
It happened at the end of 2003. And, I could tell from the relationship with him that he was being honest with me. Now, again, there have been those that have criticized and said, well, look, this guy has 52,000 years along and evolutionary line, which does not necessarily make him smarter, but certainly not better. I mean, look at the pathology, but that he had the ability, if he was a human being, to lie. Yep. And we talked with each other about lying, and Majestic never knew that. But he told me about things which would be happening in the future. Generally inconsequential things. And then there were some very consequential items. But some generally inconsequential things that happened subsequent, which told me not only was he from the future, that he had access to future material, because nobody could have predicted conversations, but that he was being honest with me as well. I could feel his heart. And that's all we can really do. They turn it into a joke on Coast to Coast. The Coast to Coast AM Challenge with Bill Burns and George Norrie. Will you step up to the plate and take this polygraph exam? No. because a polygraph doesn't work. If a polygraph worked, we wouldn't need juries. We judge other people, other human beings, by their honesty, by empirical data and evidence as well, but by their spirit as well. And
Now that you've come this far, listening to Dan, many of you may feel what you're hearing. This is very difficult to believe. A man having a friendship with an alien being when he worked at Area 51 is truly an amazing claim. Let me end this part with a single question to all of you questioning if he's telling the truth. When performing a Google picture search on his name, a picture of his body was found with massive trauma, with a post in Farsi. By using AI to translate, you can read for yourself how the body was found. And I quote, "When the police found his body, he was naked in his home, appearing to have been horrifically tortured. His neighbors reported that Dr. Burisch had seemed extremely anxious and would securely lock all doors and windows of his house every night. I believe we can all agree it's illogical to think a man was killed for telling a lie." Stay tuned for part 5 of this 9-part series.